And you're watching You, Me, and Everyone Else, where we unravel the thread of time to discover how we became the remarkable species we are today. In this chapter, The Emergence of Tool-Making Ancestors, we will embark on a fascinating journey to uncover the origins of earliest tool-making ancestors, dating back 3 to 2 million years ago. We will explore the lives of early humans, focusing on two key species: Australopithecus africanus, famously represented by the fossilized skull skeleton of Lucy, and Homo habilis, one of the first tool users. We'll dive into their daily survival challenges and how they adapted to their environment, the anatomy and the behavioral traits of Homo habilis that marked significant evolutionary advancements. And we'll see how bipedalism and adaptation to open savannas and increased social intelligence distinguished the early hominids from their ape relatives. And I'm hoping by the end of this episode, we'll have a deeper understanding on how these early humans lived, evolved, and paved the way for the remarkable species we are today. So let's dive into the captivating chapter of our shared history. You might ask, who were they? Who was Australopithecus species? It is an extinct species of hominids that lived around 3.9 million to 2.9 million years ago. And one of the most famous specimens of this species is Lucy, which was discovered in Ethiopia. Lucy's discovery was a big deal because it provided us with significant insights on the early human evolution. If we talk about the physical traits of Australopithecus, the body size and the structure, they were quite small compared to modern humans. The male averaged about 4 feet and 11 inches and weighed about 92 pounds, while the female were about 3 feet and 5 inches tall and weighed around 64 pounds. Their brain size was relatively small compared to the modern brain, about one-third of that size, and it averaged about 400 to 500 cubic centimeters. The teeth and the jaws were more human-like than ape-like, but they still had some primitive features like strong jaws, which suggested a diet that included tough plant material. Bipedalism is one of the most key significant traits of Australopithecus as well. They walked upright on two legs. Their pelvis and the leg bones were adapted for bipedal walking, but they also had long arms and curved fingers, which indicated they still spend a lot of time in the trees. And if we talk about their habits, Australopithecus africanus lived in eastern Africa, with fossils found in countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania. And they lived in a very diverse environments, from open savannas to wooded areas, which helped them adapt to various challenges in their environment. They ate a variety of foods, including fruits, leaves, seeds, and possibly some meat. Their teeth and jaws structure suggests that they could process a variety of food, which would have been very advantageous in their changing environments. We discovered the fossils of Lucy, which was a very crucial step and which showed the evidence of bipedalism. And then we found some footprints in Tanzania as well. These footprints dated back to 3.6 million years ago, which shows Australopithecus walked on two legs. if we talk about the evolutionary significance, Australopithecus Africanus is vital in the human evolutionary timeline. They are considered direct ancestors of the Homo lineage, which modern humans are part of. Their ability to walk upright was a significant evolutionary step, marking the transition towards more human-like locomotion. Their social structures we can't know that definitively about their social behaviors. It is believed that they lived in small groups. Their social structures may have been similar to those of modern primates, involving cooperation and possibly some kind of social hierarchy. Just to put these things into concepts, I would like to put them in a context of generations. So this is something that we will be doing across the series, that we will be putting generational estimates. This is something that I developed, a rough mathematics that I did. So let me just define what a generation is. A generation is an average time between the birth of a parent and the birth of their offspring. In modern humans, for instance, this is typically around 20 to 30 years. So if you think about your parents and then think about yourself, you can see there's a roughly 20 to 30 years gap between your birth. This is what we call a generational span. To understand this better, let's visualize this concept. Imagine a family tree. You have your grandparents at the top, your parents in the middle, and you at the bottom. Each level represents a different generation. Now, picture adding your children below you, and you can see how the tree grows with each new generation. So if we put a generational estimate on Australopithecus with a generational length about 15 to 20 years, and let's say they reproduced at the age of 12 to 15, I can estimate about 50,000 to 66,000 generations of Australopithecus. And in that context, Lucy, the discovery of the skeleton of Lucy, she would have been approximately 35,000 generation to 46,000 generation of her species. Next, we will move to the genus Homo. Homo Habilis was the first. Have you ever heard of him? Homo Habilis? It's one of our ancient ancestors, and it's pretty fascinating, right? The name Homo habilis actually means handyman or skillful person, because they were the first to use tool stones. And what makes them interesting is that they were the first that the scientists have labeled as a Homo genus. So if we see their brain size, they had a larger brain size than early hominids. So about 600 to 750 cubic centimeters. And they had smaller teeth and jaws, which suggested variety of diets. They had smaller body structures. So they were smaller and less robust than the later humans, with long arms that indicated that they were still climbing trees. But what makes them most interesting is the tool use. Homo habilis is famous for making use of stone tools, known as Olvenian tools. These included choppers and flakes. This significant leap in the cognitive ability and this complex behavior gave a rise to the expansion of their brains. They ate a mix of plants and animals, and they utilize the tools to access more food sources, and that included scavenging for the meat as well. And if you remember, in the previous chapter, we spoke about how the story of Raku and his father, how Kero, how they used the stone to extract bone marrow from the bones, which was a rich source of food. And if we see about how they lived in eastern and southern Africa about 2.4 to 1.4 million years ago. Fossils have been found in places like Tanzania and Kenya. So there is quite a few fossil evidence of them existing as well. And if we see the evolutionary significance of them, the Homo habilis is very crucial to the evolution of uh, human evolutionary story. They are considered as one of the earliest member of our genus, Homo, like I said before. Their tool use marks a big step forward, indicating more advanced thinking and adaptability. We found the fossil discoveries of Homo habilis in all across Africa, and we are able to see how they lived, and we are trying to create a picture. And of course, this story is incomplete. More information will come over the years, so we will get more complete picture of them. So if we just to conceptualize this in a generational terms, so Homo habilis lived about 2.1 million years ago to roughly 1.5 million years ago, giving them a lifespan of about 600,000 years. And with the generational length of 20 years, I'm putting that as 20 years, that would be about 30,000 generations of Homo habilis that would have lived and died during their existence. How did early hominids and Homo habilis, in particular Australopithecus and Homo habilis, how were their behaviors and how did they innovate? So early hominids had a low body mass and a mix of bipedal and climbing adaptations. Their survival depended on their ability to adapt, which was driven by fear and ambition. They were early adapters to the changing, um, they were early adapters of the changing environment, and they changed their behavior to survive, basically. And if we would see the later human forms, which would feature larger body mass and more human-like physiques. These forms only appeared about 1.9 million years ago. I think the quest for domination, power, and ambition might have driven these evolutionary changes, which was seeking dominance in a new niche. Evidence from other sources tells us that they were very resourceful and efficient, and specific discoveries such as the types of tools and butchering marks on the bones have informed us our understanding of these early human behaviors. Evidence from fora indicates early hominids used tools to butcher scavenged carcasses about 2.5 million years ago. This suggests a strategic use of tools driven by perhaps ambition and perhaps early form of greed, securing as much as food as possible for survival. They were like early chefs, like developing techniques to maximize their food sources. More details about the specific evidence found at the fora and how it was interpreted by research would give us a little bit more broader understanding of their behavioral evolution, and social intelligence. So the three key differences that set early hominids apart from apes was bipedalism, adaptation to open savannas, and the social intelligence. Walking bipedalism, walking on two legs freed up their hands for other tasks like carrying tools and food. This adaptation of early humans to carry objects, which is supported by fossil evidence of Australopithecus, which shows clear adaptation for bipedalism. And bipedalism also benefited Homo habilis in terms of energy efficiency and predator avoidance. Secondly, we'll talk about adaptation to the open savannas. So these explorers ventured into new territories, driven by ambition and curiosity. The open savannas environment influenced not just physical adaptation, but also social and behavioral strategies. Fossil evidence from sites like in Kenya and Tanzania, the footprints demonstrate how early humans adapted to walking upright on two legs, which was crucial for moving through these savannas. The third, one of the most important elements that drove the evolution was the social intelligence. With the larger brains came greater social skills, helping them from strong social bonds. They were the original networkers, right? Studies and the fossil evidence, such as findings related to social structures from early hominids, support this increase in brain size and social skills. For example, the discovery of a boy, a fossilized boy, Homo erectus youth, which we'll talk about in the next chapter, provides evidence of prolonged childhood and social learning. And this suggested that increased brain size was linked to the need for extended care and learning, which in turn fostered social bonds and cooperative behavior. If you remember the story of the Kero and Raku as they worked and they experimented with different tools and techniques, that shows the innovation in early humans and creativity. They cared for the youngers and the weaker members, showing empathy and emotional intelligence, which is a significant part as well. Their sense of fairness keeps the group harmonious, ensuring everyone contributes and they benefit. So, around 2 million years ago, early humans lived in tropical Africa. And over time, other hominid forms became extinct, leaving Homo to evolve into Homo erectus. It was the ultimate survival game, with only the most adaptable making it through. The transition from Homo habilis to Homo erectus involved major evolutionary changes, including increased brain size, improved tool use, and greater adaptability. So, as we wrap up this chapter, let's reflect on this remarkable journey of early ancestors. How did emotion, greed, love, ambition, and fear shape their lives and the evolutionary path they took? I will leave you with few thought-provoking questions. How do you think the development of tools influenced early human society? How do we use tools to make our lives better now? In what way do you think fear and ambition drive our ancestors to make survival strategies? Can you draw any parallels between the early human social bonds and those of the modern societies? And how might evolutionary pressures faced by early humans still influence our behavior today? Think of that. This anxiety, constant anxiety in our lives, where do you think there is a linkage? So I would love for you to drop in your thoughts. If you like, please like. If you don't, please let me know. How can I improve? It's a long journey. We'll be together. And in the next episode, we'll explore the rise of Homo erectus, a species that not only mastered fire, but also embarked on migration that would shape the future of humanity. So stay tuned for the more fascinating insights in our shared history. Until next time, we'll explore the rise of Homo erectus. Yes, it's very funny. Homo erectus. Until then, remember, we are all made up of stardust. I hope you have a lovely week, 2 weeks ahead. Until next time, bye.